Does Spider-Man No Way Home live up to the hype? Extra, extra, hear all about it! Local Spider-Menace's web of terror sweeps nation as film critics, journalists, and multiversal variants flood the press screenings. All of that is to say that Spider-Man No Way Home finally opens this week and now reviews are out in the wild. And considering the torrential flood of plot leaks, set photos, and sound bites from loose-lipped co-stars, it may seem like we already know everything that's going on in Spider-Man No Way Home. However, that's done absolutely nothing to stem the tide of Spider-Mania that's sweeping the nation as people buy tickets for opening night and greedy clowns try to sell said tickets for absurd prices on eBay.
But we need money.
But now that first reactions and full reviews of the film are out, we as a nation can finally ask the question in haunting unison as our eyes roll back in our skulls: is Spider-Man No Way Home as good as we hope it is? Does it live up to the hype? And is it true the real hero of this film is a deep-faked Bonesaw?
Bonesaw is ready!
While I refuse to answer that last question, we are going to answer the first two for inquiring minds out there who want to know. And while there are a variety of spoiler-filled reviews out there, we're only going to highlight reviews and reactions that don't give away major plot points or spoil the film.
Wait, and you're telling me this now?
Still, if you've come this far and only emerged from the rock under which you live to watch this particular video for some godforsaken reason, save yourself a multiverse of misery if even the words Spider and Man together fill you with a unique brand of existential dread.
I'm sorry, you're saying there's a multiverse?
Well, folks, the good news is that as of the time of this filming, Spider-Man No Way Home is sitting at 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Reactions to the film have been overwhelmingly positive thus far, with some calling it the best Spider-Man movie ever made, one of the best entries in the MCU to date, and a fitting ending for Tom Holland's Peter Parker. In her review for Nerdist, Rosie Knight said, "It's hard to live up to the expectations of a film like Spider-Man No Way Home, and yet somehow John Watts' charming, emotional, and funny third Spidey movie does just that. This is a street-level Spider-Man with cosmic consequences. That balance and contrast between the science of Peter Parker and the magic of Doctor Strange is key to not only the story, but also what makes Spider-Man No Way Home sing." Geeks of Color's Dorian Parks was similarly effusive with his praise. No Way Home sends this trilogy off on a glorious high note. The action is top-notch and the villains steal the show. It felt like a culmination of all the previous Spider-Man films that came before it. This is the best Spider-Man film to date. Others have noted that Spider-Man No Way Home is definitely teeming with fan service, suffers from pacing issues, and can feel overstuffed in places, but in spite of all of that, the consensus seems to be that much like Spider-Man on basically any surface, they stick the landing. Film critic Laura Sirical encapsulated this sentiment in her post-screening reaction. No Way Home is a wild ride with so much emotional baggage. You'll laugh, cry, and scream for more. It's a lot to take in, but the story held its own and took me by surprise. Pacing gets jumbled at times and gets congested with too much humor at some points. A.A. Dowd expanded on this sense of tonal whiplash in his review for the AV Club. The tone veers all over the map, turning the supervillains into quippy frenemies one minute, plunging Peter into narrative and meteorological darkness the next. The whole thing is pasted together with a volume of magical and scientific hooey and MacGuffins that's high even by the standards of this extended franchise. And speaking of those supervillains, we know that characters like Dr. Octopus, Electro, Green Goblin, Sandman, and Lizard from the Spider-Man films of yesteryear are going to be in this film. But do they actually make sense in the context of the movie? Is it in service of the plot, or is it fan service? Now, according to Slash Film's Wai Chen Bui, while the film is rife with fan service, it's largely in service of the film's main goal. Despite its flaws, despite the blatant nature of the fan service, it works. As clunkily executed as it can be, fan service doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, especially when it services a larger thematic purpose grappling with Spider-Man's legacy. And Culture Mix's Carla Hay added, just like an artist's greatest hits box set for fans who already own every album by the artist, Spider-Man No Way Home is best appreciated by people who have already seen all the previous Spider-Man movies. Meanwhile, Screen Daily's Tim Grierson added that while this third chapter starring Tom Holland may be a little too convoluted and too indebted to reveling in audience nostalgia for Spider-Man's colorful villains, it's still the most satisfying Marvel installment in quite some time, and the picture builds to a thoughtful, touching final act that does justice to the heroism and self-sacrifice that's always been central to Spider-Man's appeal. However, not everyone was as pleased with this. UPI's Fred Topol lamented the narrative inertia that keeps returning classic characters in what he perceives as a state of storytelling stasis. Spider-Man No Way Home seems content to keep the previous characters as they were. As such, it sells them short because all of these characters were capable and worthy of developing in a new story. But then again, IGN's Amelia Emberwing noted that Willem Dafoe nails everything he does, but his reprisal of Norman Osborn is something for the MCU history books. His character, like the rest of the villains who find their way into Peter's Tom Holland's universe, is given a new depth that was never explored in previous Spider-Man films. So I guess you'll have to just see for yourself when you finally see it later this week, or whenever you get to the theater. As for where No Way Home ranks among other Spider-Man movies and Marvel movies, well, according to Nerdist's own Rosie Knight, it's easily the best MCU Spider-Man film. And depending on your personal ranking of the other MCU flicks, No Way Home could top that as well. This is a movie that understands who Peter Parker is. No Way Home gets what drives him, what would make him risk everything, and what could possibly break him. But with all of that, it also manages to perfectly balance the humor and emotion that makes Spider-Man a hero people love. Fandango's Eric Davis also added, "I can confidently say Spider-Man No Way Home is the best live-action Spider-Man movie. A thrilling and emotional end to the Homecoming trilogy, but also a smart, fun, and exciting tribute to 20 years of Spider-Man movies. Both hilarious and heartbreaking, I honestly loved every second." And last but not least, our resident MCU interviewer extraordinaire Hector Navarro had similarly glowing words for this film. Spider-Man No Way Home is one of the best superhero movies of all time. It just continuously proves over and over again why Peter Parker is the greatest fictional character ever. And if you want to know more about the movie, watch Hector's amazing interviews up on our channel right now. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That's what people are saying about Spider-Man No Way Home. And look, I'm sure there's going to be other people out there who don't enjoy it for whatever reason, but our Peter Tangles are telling us that it's shaping up to be one of the very best films of the year, especially for comic fans and for Spidey fans. Now, we'll have plenty of coverage in the days ahead, both spoiler-free and spoiler-filled, and don't worry, we're going to mark them all appropriately. In the meantime, if you want to dive deeper into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel Multiverse, we've got you covered over on Nerdist. For now, though, tell us, when are you seeing Spider-Man No Way Home? Which is your favorite Spider-Man movie so far, and why? And which multiversal Spider-Man character do you hope to see make a surprise appearance in this film? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.